Okay, so this next tutorial, I'm just going to quickly once again review how to bring 3D model information from Rhino into Infraworks the correct way. So what I have here is I set up again of this data I just downloaded of the coastal area of Japan for Armand's project. I just exported the contours out into Rhino using the techniques that I've shown you guys already. And so I have a Rhino model in here, so that's the contours. And then what I just quickly did was I just put some 3D massings of various things on the site. Imagine like these blocks are some kind of development idea, and these pipes here are the nuclear plant or that is on the coast. So what you do is once you have your 3D model built, you want to select all that information. So I'm just going to select objects here. Go to File, Export Selected. I'll just save it on my desktop. I'll call this Architecture or something, whatever. Click Save. And you want, sorry, let me do it one more time. You want to actually save it as an FBX. So I think I mentioned that yet. Save it as a motionbuilder.fbx. Make sure you set the meshes, set the NURBS objects as meshes only, and then set export materials as FONG, and then export file as Vision 7 binary. And then you can set the resolution of the mesh. So I say 75%, kind of along this line, feels pretty good. So then click OK. And then what you want to do is in Infraworks, so there's that site again. In Infraworks, you want to go to the Add 3D Model button up here. Then add that FBX file that you just exported. Double click on that 3D model file. You want to go to the 3D model tab. You always want to make sure you click on flip XY, because if it's coming straight from Rhino, it's always, the axis is always going to be rotated incorrectly for some reason. Set the type to either a road or a building. I recommend road for flexibility because, like I mentioned, you can turn roads on and off. So if you have design options, you can turn one option off, turn another option on. In the coordinate system tab, this is where having Arcmap on hand is useful. So this is the Arcmap file that I export the contours out of. And you always want to double click on the data frame properties and just double check to see what the actual coordinate system is being used for this entire, used for the Rhino file. And so this, in this case, WGS 1984. Web Mercator. So you want to set the coordinate system to be that as well. So I'm going to search for WGS 84 and see if I can find that exact same one. It's this one right here. WGS 84 pseudo Mercator. But you would use the coordinate system that you're using for your Arcmap document. And click close and refresh. And so there it is. And I guess I must have put this stuff out in the water for some reason. Did I do that? I don't think I did. Let me change something real quick. I'm going to change the imagery. No, that's correct. Well, I guess that's just the way it was. In any case, that is how you bring the model information into Rhino correctly. And then the other thing I want to show you guys is how to actually change the material of the model. So right now it kind of has this kind of grayish look to it. So in Rhino, if you click on the material button, so in the layers panel, you see there's a material column right next to the layer. If you click on that, you can change the material of this object. So if you actually have materials on your thing, you can actually add that to the model itself. In this case, I'll add a white matte. Then click OK. I'm going to click on all the objects. I'm just going to make sure in the Properties tab that the material is set to the layer right here. And then I'm going to export that selected as architecture again. Click OK. Yes, yes. OK. And then that will replace the original FBX. And so then back here, all I need to do is just refresh the link. And so you see now it becomes a nice clean white material. And so you can play around with the material just to make it look more appropriate for your design. Then one more thing I'm going to show you guys is how can you take this and make some cool dynamic section perspective graphics. And so, for instance, let's say you want to make a transect section along this portion of the model. You can literally use the model extents tool. Sorry, it's right here. Yeah. And set the extent to be kind of like a linear transect, like that. Hit enter, click OK. So now you see here what you have is a linear transect that you might see in diagrams and landscape presentation drawings, and maybe set the field of view to something really low so it's a bit more diagrammatic. So this is a good way actually if you wanted to do section perspective with your design on top of that, and especially for these designs that have coastal conditions and mountainous conditions, this is a great way to represent that graphically. Maybe I'll just make a few suggestions on how to export this. Maybe just pick a view like that, for instance. I would recommend turning the sky off. If you have Infraworks 360, you can turn the sky off to give yourself a nice grayscale background. And then take a snapshot of that. Make sure high visual quality is turned on so that you have all your features turned on like that. So go to, let's see, go to the little TV button here, click on Create Snapshot. Set yourself a resolution, maybe 5,000 by 3,000 pixels. Save it as in PNG, which will give you the highest quality image. JPEGs will always feel a little pixely. Save it as, say, section perspective. And then simply just bring that image into Photoshop and Illustrator and just begin to graphically represent that. Okay, so in the last 10 minutes, I quickly took that image that I exported onto a PNG. I did some quick photoshopping to it, adjusted the colors, added a great background, added a stroke around the boundary to give it more of a diagrammatic look. Then I took this image here, I brought it into Illustrator, put some text around it, put some annotations on it, began to outline the box around it. As you can see, just with a few simple steps, but using the GIS layer as a framework, you can already begin to make these very cool looking diagrams that we see a lot in these urban landscape research projects. But you don't have to use Rhino, you don't have to use any of those tools to get to looking like this. So these are all a bunch of fake labels, but you can imagine that you can apply your research appropriately to make this an important drawing in your presentation. So hopefully that's helpful. So.